hey friends, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a video on my wax inventory spreadsheet. So this was a request. I actually had no plans on doing this because this is quite a vulnerable video. But Faye, if you're watching, this video is for you. I hope that it is helpful, and I hope that if anybody else out there is kind of looking for an idea for how you could track your wax, maybe this will help inspire you. I hate that I have to say this, but think long and hard before you comment something. Remember, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. I will be very quick to remove you from this channel. Just throwing that out there. Most people are always very, very kind, but when you're showing numbers and you see how much I have of certain things, I have a lot of Scentsy, I have a lot of Teddy Bees, just keep that in mind. Let's just keep this a positive place. That's the point of this video, to try to be helpful and to share with you really and truly what I have. So that's the goal here, just to give you an idea if you want to track your wax, potentially how you can do it. So my spreadsheet is incredibly simple. And there are many YouTubers that have more complex and intricate spreadsheets that work well for them. And so I think really the takeaway there is, if you're wanting to track your wax, there's no right or wrong way for you to do it, and you have to figure out the way that works the best for you. And you have to decide what information you want to track. Do you want to track all the wax you've ever tried in a rating, or if you would repurchase the scents? Or do you want to do something simpler like I have? And my spreadsheet is just the wax I have on hand at this very moment. That's all I really care about. I use my spreadsheet to essentially see how much I have from each vendor, what my grand total is, and what I have in each vendor category and in what particular size. So let's go through some of these boxes and this information. So you can see down below, I have a monthly tracker and like a grand total for each vendor. And then every vendor, for the most part, is split out in their own tab. I find that works the best for me. Then I can just go to the specific vendor tab and edit as needed. So I have a grand total box, and this is just the sum of the total of all of the wax I have for all different vendors, and I record that here. I've also been recording my monthly total, so the number that I'm starting with and the number I'm at now. I don't worry about the number too much for a couple of different reasons. One, I count everything as one. So a sample is one and a loaf is one, and I count and log every single sample that I have. And so that obviously adds a lot to it. They're small pieces of wax though. And then also, I don't always order in a way that would keep my numbers down. And what I mean by that in particular, for example, is like Teddy Bees. Last Teddy Bees pre-order, there were many scents that I got 2 souffles of. It would have been more cost efficient and number efficient if I was really worried about my numbers just to get 1 tub. But I know how I melt, and I know that a souffle would cover the bedrooms or it would cover my open concept. So for me, it makes more sense to get 2 souffles, and that kind of equates to 2 worms for me, if that makes sense. So if I was that worried about the numbers, I would just get a tub, but I'm buying wax based on my melting and how I like to melt. So I'm not too worried about the numbers. My goal by the end of the year was to have less wax than I started number-wise, and so you can see that's not going great, but I have bought quite a few Lavender and Speckles samplers this year already. I love her samplers and I have no regrets about that. So that has drastically increased my number. Overall, I really haven't bought that much wax. It's been well, it's been Teddy Bees, which obviously is, you know, a heftier order, and lavender and speckles for the most part. And then I've done very small little orders here and there. But long story short, I'm not too worried about the numbers, but I do like to track it just to see what I have. And it kind of helps me understand how I'm doing on a month-to-month basis in some ways. So long story short, I have those numbers here. For columns D and E, this is just the vendor as well as the total that I have for each of these vendors. Now, there's no formula associated with this. I physically enter this number based on what is on these spreadsheets. Now, if you're good with Excel, you could do that calculation where it would pull from the other tab to autofill. I just don't. Like I said, this is incredibly simple, but it has worked really well for me. I've been using this spreadsheet since, I don't know, November or December or something like that. And so far, so good. It's working great for me. So I have this, like I said, just split out by vendor and what my totals are. So obviously my heavy hitters are Scentsy and Teddy Bees, which I knew. And then the rest of the vendors fill in the rest. So it's actually kind of interesting to see, you know, vendors that I'm close to having none of, or vendors that I have a lot of, or vendors that I'm kind of in the middle of the road. So definitely helps when I try to decide on purchasing from these, you know, some of these other vendors that aren't, you know, like Teddy Bees, obviously my top vendor, just to see an overview of what I have. So that's my kind of home tab. And then, like I said, I have each vendor split out down here below. So I'll show you an example for Britta's. This is pretty standard across the board. I have my grand total at the top. So this is just a formula that sums the total of all of the types. I have a column where I have my scent that I have, and then I record what form I have the scent in. So I have many souffles from Britta's, and then I have one loaf. So total for Britta's, I have 13. Size that I have is helpful for me in regards to purchasing. Really, to be honest, in particular with Teddy Bees. Maybe let's go to the Teddy Bees tab because I can show you more of what I mean. So here's my Teddy Bees tab. We've got, we're not up at the top. We've got souffles, loaves, tubs, forget-me-nots, or samples. So I can see when it comes time for a pre-order, I don't know, let's say Balsam and Blooms is up. I can come here and say, oh, I have 2 tubs of it. I'm probably good. I probably don't need any more. Whereas maybe, I don't know, if Beach Bronze came back, I only have 1 souffle of it. You know, maybe I would want to pick up another souffle, etc. So I really use the Teddy Bees one very strategically because of just how much wax I have with this vendor to make sure that I'm making good purchases and, you know, not overbuying any one scent, I guess, in particular. Not that I don't overbuy Teddy Bees, I clearly do, but I have no regrets about that. I love her wax. So that I have all of the vendors pretty much. And then my final tab, I have a miscellaneous tab, and these are just vendors that I have very little of. So like I've got 1 thing from Zape, I have 1 from Birdie's, etc. So I have just included them all here instead of making a separate tab for them, and then just have kind of a miscellaneous overview. So that's really it. Like I said, it's very simple. And then what I do is every time I finish a wax, I put it on my computer, by my computer on my office desk, and I'll sit down and just go log it. So I can go to whatever it is and delete the scent, or if I have multiple of something, change the number. And then I go to the monthly tracker page and I edit the grand total here. Like I said, you could link those totals so it would automatically do it, or you could do it once a month, go through and update and get your grand total. But I just do it as I unlog things or however best fits for you. And like I said, for me, I am just using this to see what I have currently now. You know, as you can see, there's no scent notes of anything. There's no ratings of anything. There's no, would I repurchase this? Nothing. I don't really care to track all the wax I've ever tried. For me, I don't find that to be super valuable. For you, you might, and that might be something you'd want to include. So you could edit something like this really easily. You could just, you know, once you finish something, decrease your amount to 0 and have another column or 2 with some sort of rating, and if you would repurchase it, and then just leave the scent here as a, you know, as a whole. But to me, looking at that seems overwhelming, and I just wanted, you know, as simple as possible, but that's just what's working best for me. So that's just an idea of something that you can do. Like I said, there are many people that use really intricate spreadsheets and then the more simple spreadsheets if tracking your wax is something that you would like to do. So I have made a kind of draft one of these where I keep all of the information, but it is essentially empty for you to be able to fill out. So I will link that in the description box down below if that's helpful for you. You can use it as a starting place and edit it, you know, to your liking if you would like, or if you're like, this has no interest to me, or your spreadsheet sucks and I want nothing to do with it, that's cool too. But especially for Faye, I hope that this was helpful and kind of gives you an idea of how you could potentially track your wax. And yeah, would love to hear how you guys do it. Do you track your wax? Do you not worry about it? What works best for you guys? Thank you so very much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed seeing kind of a sneak peek into my wax inventory. And I'll see you very soon in my next one. Bye.